welcome you all to Rastafari Reasoning. The Rastafari Reasoning is an initiative of the Education Commission of the Rastafari Council, Ghana. The purpose of the Rastafari Reasoning is to discuss, consult, and act together in focused exchanges of ideas, thoughts, views, knowledge, to comment on specific problems and air considered views on courses of action to best follow in dealing with the world, to come to terms with history, politics, economics, education, so we don't repeat past errors, and instead of always trying to catch up with the world, we stimulate creative thinking through the Rastafari Reasoning. Tonight, our presenter is Dr. Sadia Nuhu, a psychologist, and she'll be dealing with the topic, knowing and understanding your brain health and its challenges. Without saying much, I'll invite Empress to lead the conversation. Give thanks. So please, Dr. Sadia.
Thanks. Yes. Give thanks. Rastafari, greetings to one and all on the platform today.
Rastafari Empress.
Yes, very happy to be here to share and reason with the ISTEM and everybody that's here. Ras, Kwesi, Anochi, Fire 7. I don't know you by that name, so I'm trying to acknowledge you by how you go by these days. Ras Fire 7, Ras Wiro, Ras Kofi Asante, Ajete Ashai. We're not many here, so I can call all of us. Ras Ringo, I know, Ras Ken, and Prince Awuni. I think I've acknowledged everybody. My name is Sadia Nuhu. I come from the northern region, northern part of Ghana. I was born in Kumasi, raised in Accra. I went to Legon in 1994, where I studied performing arts. I think this thing is in my face and I'm trying to move it. The recording thing is in my face. But anyway, then I discovered Rastafari in my early years. I was 17 years old. But before then, I already had heard about Rastafari. When I was a very, very young girl, I encountered somebody that showed me a book called Makers of Civilization. And the person was trying to educate me about the contributions of Black people and mentioned Emperor Haile Selassie as a very important person and a contributor to civilization. So in that edition of the Makers of Civilization, I thought it was the part 2 one. His Majesty was featured in the last chapter. In my elementary school years, I also remember my teacher talking about His Imperial Majesty. So I do have images, in about him in my head. Before, when I was 17, 18, I encountered Ras Wiro, Professor Kojo Oponwadie, and another brethren, Ras Gamili, in my neighborhood. I was a young lady. I had finished sixth form and I was getting ready to go to the University of Ghana. And that encounter is history now because I've been a Rastafarian since then. So I think I was maybe I had done my sixth form, national service, getting ready to go to the university. So let's say I was in my early 20s and now I'm in my early 50s. I never turned back. Rastafari has gripped me my whole years. So that's just a brief introduction. My first degree at Legon, I studied performing arts. I majored in African dancing. And then I moved to the United States. I migrated, started a family. I have one daughter who is in the United States. Upon getting my doctorate, I decided to come back home. So I'm in Ghana today as we speak. I arrived last week to see what opportunities are here for Rastafari and Africa. because as Muta Baruka said, it's not good to live in a white man country too long. But more so, it's not a too long. We can't stay in Babylon forever. So from time to time, we have to touch base at home and see what we can do. So anyway, I majored in mental health. I'm a health educator first. I mean, I have a degree in health science, and then I ventured into mental health, and I studied clinical mental health counseling and psychology for my PhD. I also did nursing a little bit, but I changed my major. So that's my background. And I have been practicing mental health as a clinician. I take care of patients who have mental health illnesses, but also my clients, not everybody has a pathology or a disease or a mental health illness. I talk to people who just want to prevent mental illness. You know, if they have life issues, life problems, then they come and talk to me weekly. So we have weekly sessions. So that's how mental health functions in the United States now. I don't know about Ghana, but maybe we can have something going. So if you feel like, you need somebody to talk to about life issues, can be family, can be work, it can be finances, it can be relationships, anything. I offer counseling in all fields. So let's go to today's topic. I am sharing my screen, but it doesn't seem to appear. Let's see if I can share it again. Does anybody know what's going on? Ras Kofi. Ras Kofi.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
You can see the screen. I can't see it myself.
Yes,
yeah, we can see the screen. Mental health, knowing and understanding brain health and its challenges.
Okay. So why is it that I can't see it? I can't see it. Let me see. I can't see it. I'll probably stop and share again and see if it come back. If it'll come. Okay. Bear with me, please. Okay, so now it's here. So when we say mental health, what do we mean? Mental health is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes their own potential, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and be able to make contributions to their community. This is the World Health Organization definition of mental health, which means that, when we say you are balanced, you have homeostasis. There's nothing going wrong with you. You're functioning just the way your brain is supposed to function. And you are making sound decisions and your life is going well. Then you have mental health. You have good mental health. I just put these together in not particular order, but to help me to give the presentation. So bear with me. How do we understand our brain? So let's see. So this is what a brain function. Okay, so the brain and its functions. So this brain, the organ that it's part of all the organs in our body, the one that we call the brain, is a very, 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 very important and crucial part of our body, the anatomy and physiology of the human body. The brain controls and regulates bodily functions, such as movement, sensations, perceptions, and cognitions. The function of the brain is processes of information from our senses, memories, and emotions. The brain helps us in decision-making, solving problems, and thinking critically. A healthy brain. So how do we know you have a healthy brain? The cognitive functions means that we are clear thinking, ability to focus, concentrate, and make decisions. When we have good memory, ability to learn, retain, and recall information. We have good mental health or brain function when we are able to approach challenges logically. So emotional well-being, ability to manage stress, anxiety, and emotions. Brain function, continuation of it is the ability to stabilize our moods. So generally we have positive moods and daily, but occasionally it is normal when we have fluctuation in our moods, such as you can get up and feel like, oh, I'm feeling sad, or I'm particularly not feeling okay in my brain, like maybe you have anxiety or you are unsettled, you have some fear or something is going on. It's normal, but the inability to regulate it and come back to normal functioning, it will be a sign, it's a thing of concern. When we are resilient, ability to cope with challenges and adapt with life situations, that's also a function of the brain. So, a lot of us have gone through trauma in our childhood, in our adulthood, and, various aspects of our lives. And if we want to put it more to generalize for Africans, we've gone through a lot of stressful situations, such as slavery, colonialism, and all the isms that you can think about. But then we always bounce back. They denied us education. They brought religion to influence our thinking or our way of doing things. And, they always try to make us not able to be able to think properly and function properly and achieve, success in life. But no matter how they have tried, we always come back and emerge winners in the world field. So, Black people are dominating in sports. When you name any sport, we are dominating. When we come to runners, Ethiopians, Kenyans, Jamaicans, a lot of the sporting fields are dominated by Black people. When you come to name any sport, when you come to basketball, you have Black people, Black Americans dominating. Recently, they discovered some Sudanese that beat America just by a few points. And I watched how they went and recruited these Sudanese to come and play for the American teams, right? When we come to soccer, football, Africans on the continent dominating football all over the world. When it comes to intellectualism, right now in the statistics of the United States, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Jamaicans, etc., we are dominating academically as well. When you go to the hospitals and the teaching field and everywhere, most of the fields in the United States, Black people, your doctors, your nurses, all the health workers, your therapists, social workers, predominantly African and Caribbean. So I'm just saying that to say, no matter how they try to put us down, we always emerge, and that's a sign of our resilience. And if you put it back to individuals, realize that no matter what we've gone through in our lives, we still, come up doing well, functioning well. So that is a good sign of brain power. Physical signs of healthy brain or a healthy brain, it's regular, restful sleep patterns. You sleep well. You're able to sleep well when you go to sleep. You wake up when you're able to wake up. You feel rested when you sleep. But and then when you have a healthy appetite, you have balanced nutrition, and you are able to eat well, then you know that your brain is functioning okay. And physical coordination, good balance, coordination, and motor skills are all signs that you have your brain and your body are functioning correct. Behavioral signs, engagement, interest in activities hobbies, and social interactions are all signs that your brain is working okay. So over here, I have when you have motivation, you have the drive to achieve your goals and pursue your interest. That means that the brain is functioning. You have social connections, you're nurturing relationships and social bonds. That is also a sign of good health. So now let's see. So these are how the brain is functioning okay. So how do we know that the brain is not functioning okay? When should we be concerned? The signs of poor mental health. When you have emotional signs, you have persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and anxiety. When we say persistent, it's a daily issue. For months, you continue to feel that way. If it's just like 1 week, let's say normal things happen in life. Maybe somebody died and you experience sadness for a month or 2 weeks or something. That's normal. Let's say somebody lost their job or a relationship or something is not going right, and we experience anxiety or sadness. Well, then that's fine. But when it's going on too long, then we know that there's something going wrong with our brain. When we experience mood swings and irritability, you realize that when you go to work, you can't get along with people, you are shouting at people, or people are, every small thing bothers you and you're not coping well, or within your family and your friendships, you're always angry or, upset about something, then it's indicative that something is not correct and you have to get that checked. Loss of interest and activities you once enjoyed. You are not enjoying anything in life anymore. It's a good sign that something is not right with your brain. Feelings of guilt, shame, or worthlessness. So, guilt is like saying that you've done something wrong, right? But I want to say that emotions and feelings are something that is normal and inherent to the human being. So when you have some feelings, it is okay to have those feelings because the Most High or nature made us that way. The feelings will tell you that something is not correct. And then you are able to regulate and bounce back. But if it becomes something that is chronic and you are always feeling guilt, and you are always feeling that you did something wrong, then you have to check it out. And this is where my job comes in. People come and sit down and they tell me, oh, for lately I've been feeling guilty or guilty about something. Then we have to explore what that is and the root cause. And then we can find the root cause and the solutions. Shame is also saying that the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is that you've done something wrong. Shame is that there's something wrong with me. You feel like, there's something wrong with you. Now you are not adequate, so that is shame. And you're always feeling shame. And guilt and shame or worthlessness can lead to loss of interest that you once enjoyed. It can also lead to irritability, sadness, anxiety, and hopelessness. So if you feel like you are experiencing these things, do something about it. This was not supposed to be there. Okay, those were not supposed to be there. So I was just doing something to help me. So let's go here. Knowing and understanding your mental health. We've done this. And then that brings us to mental illness on the last slide, when we know that something is not wrong, something is not correct with us. So what is mental illness? Mental illness is a health condition involving changes in our thinking, emotions, or behavior leading to stress or problems functioning in our social, work, or family activities. Okay. So mental illness is quite often, and I'm dealing with the statistics of the United States because that's where I live. They said in 2020, Nearly 1 out of 5 US adults experiences this condition, while 1 in 20 US adults have a serious mental illness. So it means that if you take in a room, any room in particular, where there's 5 people, there's going to be 1 person that has some mental health issues. And then 1 out of 20 would have a serious mental illness. Examples of mental illness are many. We have depression or major depressive disorder. So depression is the normal feeling of sadness that we all have. From time to time you have depression. Like I said, if something saddening is happening and it's normal and it's expected, then we know that, okay, it's okay to be depressed. But when it prolongs to like 6 months, 1 year, and it's occurring every year for a prolonged time, then we call it clinically, it's major depressive disorder. And this can lead to death. People who commit suicide, probably have feelings of depression, worthlessness, and they feel like there's no need to, they don't find any reason to live. So they might commit suicide. Anxiety. Suicide in itself is also a mental health condition. So we have to pay attention to that. So anxiety disorders, when you are worrying or fearful about something. Let's say that you're going to get a job, you need a job, and then you have the normal feeling of, worry if you're going to get a job. That's just an example. I remember anytime I have interviews, when I interview for a job, I'll call all my friends and I'll rehash everything that we talked about. I said this and I said that and I said that. Do you think I said I'll go on and on and on, and it's a sign of anxiety. It's like until they call me and say you got a job, I'll just be going, like you can't sleep and you're constantly, fearful if you get a job or not. So that's just one example. There are so many ways or reasons why we have anxiety. So anxiety is just simply fear or worry. But when it becomes chronic, then it becomes an anxiety disorder. We have ADHD, neurodevelopmental disorders. So ADHD, I feel like we can go into it in detail some other time. But ADHD, the symptoms of ADHD is not able to focus and not able to concentrate. And that's what we call attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So before I traveled to the United States in I think it was 2003, 2004. I was here for a little bit and then I went back. I was working in a day school. I was managing a day center for a friend. And there was a particular boy in that school that could never sit still. And he had behavior issues, very chronic. Like you're sitting down and he'll come and hit you and run. He was always disrupting the class. He was always like cyclical, always just going, jump on the table, a whole lot of behaviors that really bugged my mind, and usually in Ghana or in Africa, when we haven't studied these things, we would say that a child has no good home training. And then we will label, and then we start mistreating an individual that behaved that way. So this boy was always in trouble, always causing problems, but the school was good. They were able to work with him. And, the teachers work with him one-on-one. So that gave me something to ponder on so much. And then my further studies in mental health helped me to understand that the child was hyperactive, right? So we have hyperactivity. You can't sit in your chair for more than 5 minutes. You have to get up. So if you ever experience that, you can't concentrate on anything. You are getting up every minute. You are, you have to get up. You are distracted. You have to keep on going. And when you are working, you can't concentrate. You can't meet your deadlines. You can't get things done. You can't accomplish your goals. you might have ADHD. And I have been diagnosed because it got to a time when in my studies, I can accomplish everything else. But when it comes to reading, I'll sit there and stare at the screen for so long. I'll be reading and nothing will be going into my head. And I'll spend a long time reading over and over and over. So I can sit behind my desk for like 8 hours and I haven't done anything. I haven't done my progress notes for work and I haven't done my assignments. So that was going on for a long time until I saw a clinician and I got diagnosed. So we have adult, we have child ADHD and we have adult ADHD. And it took me a long time to accomplish my PhD. It took me about 8 years because I was suffering with ADHD and didn't know it, right? And here I was being an African that moved to the United States. And I was saying that my earlier years when I was ignorant and I didn't know better, I was saying that they find ways to medicate children and they don't want to pay attention to the children. But later on, working in the hospitals, in the clinics, and I saw more conditions, I realized that that wasn't the case. So I myself had to get on medication to help me to focus and to get through finishing my degree. But after I finished the degree, I put the medication aside because I don't need it anymore. From time to time, I might feel I need it and I'll take it. Then we have substance use disorder. Any substance, cigarette, alcohol, any drugs, like cocaine, crack, you name it, alcohol, and even I'll say ganja, right? It can be a drug, but I use ganja, so I'm not gonna say that. I don't think it's a bad thing. I have argued in classrooms and intellectual settings for the use of ganja. So bear with me. I'm not saying that it's not good, but I have seen, in our cycles as Rastafari, there are people who cannot do anything without smoking. They think that I have to take my ganja. In the middle of the night, I have to take ganja before I can think. I have to take ganja before I can be creative. I have to take ganja before I can eat. Then it becomes a dependency. It's a substance dependence. So we need to check that. Trauma and stress disorder. So trauma is any injury to the brain due to some stress that we have encountered. It can be accident, it can be physical abuse, maybe somebody beating somebody else. It can be verbal abuse and whole lot of things that can cause us to be traumatized. And then we get stress disorder. Then we have bipolar. Bipolar disorder is when you have two conditions. You have depression, where you can go a whole week and you're depressed. You can't do anything, a week or 2 weeks or a month. You'll just be down for the whole entire time. You won't be able to eat, you won't be able to bath, you won't be able to brush your teeth or do anything that you're supposed to do. And then all of a sudden you get up and you have a bout of energy and then you're going. You can work 24 hours without stopping. And the adrenaline is high. You can do risky behaviors. You're just on the go. So first is the go. Don't sleep, just overactive. And then all of a sudden you crash and you're depressed. So that is the definition of bipolar. It can come with psychosis or mania. So psychosis is like when we act like our mind is not functioning okay. Like when you see like in tree, you see what about them, psychosis. You're not yourself, you are irrational, you are delusional, and you're not acting like a normal person. So that's psychosis. And then mania is also, we can look at the different definitions later. Schizophrenia is when you see things that are not there or you hear voices that are not there. So I don't know if you've experienced it before, but somebody will say, oh, there is something in the room. There's a spirit in the room. Or my fathers are talking to me, or I've heard a voice So that's why sometimes we say a lot of these so-called pastors or prophets and stuff like that, sometimes they have schizophrenia because they are hearing too many voices, but they can't solve the world problems, right? So hearing voices and seeing things that are not there. When we say it's not there, if all of us are in this room and we are not seeing the thing that you are seeing, and you are hearing voices, some of the voices are command voices. The voices will tell you to go and do something. And normally it's negative. It tells you to go and hurt or harm somebody. So there was a time that this was big news. So maybe we've all heard it. And if you haven't heard it, a lady heard voices that she should put her daughter, her child, her baby into the microwave. So she put the baby in a fresh baby and microwave the baby. It was the voices that commanded her. We call them command hallucinations. So when somebody's hallucinating, or another person put their baby in the oven, and another person drowned their babies. These are a few examples of extreme. But yeah, so those are just a few examples. We have mental illnesses involve sleep-wake disorders, insomnia, you can't sleep, narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a condition where people sleep. They are driving and they are sleeping behind the wheel. They just like chronic sleeping. What else? I'm just looking here to see if there are more. Okay, I think I've mentioned a lot of them. Neurological disorders, personality disorders. We have antisocial personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. I'm sure we've heard about some of these, most especially narcissistic personality disorder. And these things, as we go along to learn mental illness, we can break them down and pick one after the other to look at them. We have paranoid personality disorder, and all types. Some of the antisocial personality disorders are the psychopaths. A lot of people accuse Donald Trump of being a psychopath. I don't know if that's true or not, but those are personality disorders. Okay, so there are so many. We can discover more as we go by, or if you have some questions later, then we can expand. So now that we are in Ghana and we're talking about mental illness, I found out that mental disorders are a leading cause of years lived with disability in Ghana, according to WHO. So that was WHO in 2015. I didn't find any recent statistics, but I didn't spend too much time looking either. So 17% of Ghanaians suffer from mental disorders. I said 17, no, I mean 13% suffer from mental disorders. 3% are mild disorders, and 3% of the 13% are severe mental disorders, and then 10% are moderate. So among patients seeking treatment for mental health issues in Ghana, the prevalent ones are schizophrenia, substance abuse, and mood disorders. Those are the top 3 diagnoses. They said that although a large range percentage of people receive no specific diagnosis, according to Joseph A. Asari, chair of the Mental Health Authority Board in Ghana. So I have been approached. I didn't think, Ghanaians experience schizophrenia, but again, that was my ignorance. In the United States, I've encountered about 3 Ghanaians that had schizophrenia in the community, and I was called upon to go and help them. There was a young guy in Houston that was living with a family. The family was hosting him, and it was a family that called me. So this young boy refused to stay in the house. He wanted to sleep outside on the bridge, under the bridge. So those are signs of mental illness when somebody, obviously refusing to sleep in a home where there's love and care and security, and they want to go sleep outside. We did everything to convince him. He said no. There were voices in the house. and there were spirits in the house, and he wouldn't live there. And we tried to find him a hotel. If the house was not good, then we'll find him a hotel. He refused. He didn't want to stay in a hotel. The only place he would sleep is outside. Yeah, so we had to call the mental health services. But the way that it works in the United States, once he's not harmful to himself, he wasn't harming anybody, and he wasn't saying he was going to harm himself, they would not take him in. So we had to leave this poor boy roaming the streets. So every day we'll find him and give him food and water, give him some supplies. But then we had to leave him. He was always talking about he's going to the next town. He was just roaming about on the streets. We tried to locate his family in Ghana. When we located them, they didn't want anything to do with the situation because it was overwhelming for them and they didn't know what to do. We thought maybe if, they got him a ticket or we got him a ticket to come back home, he'll be safer here. But the family didn't want to do anything. So they stopped communicating with us. And another lady was in the same predicament with her situation too. We called Ghana. So when you are in that situation, your family don't want you. Then there was a time I was coming to Ghana and I was on flight with a guy that I met at the airport. We're in transit in Turkey. I took Turkish Airlines and I met a guy that I thought I've met my Rasta man. So my Rasta, brethren. He had his guitar, he had his dreadlocks, and I was sitting at the gate to board the plane. I was early, so I was alone there for a while, and he was the other person that came. So I was excited. I was engaging him, and then I realized that something was not right. So I stopped engaging. On the plane, that's where I confirmed that something was not right. So the guy was walking, back and forth in the aisle when we were all sitting down. He was talking to his family members. If you speak Twi, he was like, I can't even remember everything he was saying. He was just talking about, his family, but he was talking to himself, and then, the voices were coming and he was engaging the voices. So he was going aisle to aisle, aisle to aisle. But Turkish Airlines staff were very good and very compassionate. They engaged him decently. They talked to him very well. They had alerted Ghana police from the airport security so that as soon as we landed, they came and got him because we didn't know where he was going. They didn't want him to be mugged, to keep him safe. So these are some of the mental illnesses that I know Ghanaians have experienced. Yeah, so we're done with that. And so, okay, I'll stop sharing and then we can go direct. So that's mental illness. Now, I want to talk about stress. And stress affects our brain. Everybody in this room, in this forum, experiences stress. And stress can lead to brain fog. When we have brain fog, when you feel like you can't think properly, you are not being productive. Sometimes it resembles a symptom I talked about, such as ADHD. So I have a mug here, and I'm going to talk about stress. So it says the human body is amazing at adapting in the face of tension. So when there is tension or when there is perceived threat to our well-being in life, right? The stress is activated in our brain. There's a perception that something is not right. Let's say you don't have money to pay your rent or your mortgage. Let's say you don't have money to buy fuel to go to work, and the work is very important. Your boss has warned you that he will fire you if you don't come to work. Now you can't take yourself to work. It will activate stress. All kinds of things will activate stress. So when we perceive that we are in danger, some of the things that I've mentioned are some of the few things that will give you a perception that you are in danger. So the brain releases a cascade of neurochemicals and hormones to help us mobilize. So that is when we call it fight or flight, right? So the chemicals in your brain will release these substances, and then it will tell you, the human being, that you are probably in danger. So should you fight or should you stay and fight for whatever your perceived danger is? This cocktail of neurochemicals is only meant to pump through our bodies for a limited time. And these substances exhaust our brains when they stick around longer than they should. So they can cause a brain injury. When the normal amount of neurochemicals that are pumped in your brain is to help you to fight or to solve a problem. But we are in a high tensed environment these days. Somebody described the United States as a pressure cooker of life. It's so much pressure. But we thought Africa was, more cooler. But Africa is also very stressful, especially if you live in Accra. I've been here just a few days, and the stress I encounter moving from, where I live to go to town is like, oh my God, what is this? It's very scary. The roads are so bad, and the cars are so bumpy. It's physically and emotionally and mentally tasking, just to move around. So we have stress. But if you live in a village, it's more calmer. I've been to I always go to my hometown in the northern region. And when I'm there, when I'm in the city, I never can leave my phone alone. I'm always on my phone. But when I go to the village, I realize I can go 4 days in a whole week without my phone. So there's high stress. And when there's high stress, it can cause that injury to the brain because you are always in a fight or flight mode. So it's a little bit, I've been talking for a while and I know you're listening. So I want to check in for a minute. Are we doing okay?
Yes, Empress, we are listening. We are following.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, man. Empress, we are following you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, yes. A little interaction helps. So they said that there is a feedback loop built into our brain system where the brain eventually gets a message that says, let's shut this stress hormone release down. There is no acute threat anymore. So that is when we have balance, when we perceive that something is happening. And then all of a sudden we have ease, we have balance. It means that, okay, we have solved the problem and there's no longer a need to be frightful or hurtful, to be afraid. Then the chemicals will shut down. So let me bring this to life and see what happens. One time when I was at Legon, as a Rasta woman, I was always exploring the environment, or more so the rural, the country, or if you want to say the village. So I used to go to Insachi a lot. And Insachi is like down a Bri path, or where Amomole, where the Tor tribes used to have their farms. A little further down there was a village called Insachi. And I was trying to have a farm there. And so we used to go there every weekend and spend some time. And if we had a longer vacation, we spent more time there. One time it was like myself and my sister Miriam and two brothers from that village that introduced us to the village. We were walking in the forest, and it's a thick forest. But as we were walking, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. We all just froze. There was a sensation that happened, and we froze. Seconds later, there was a big snake, like a python or anaconda. The snake was so big. And I don't know metrics, I don't know maths, so I can't tell you the length of it. It's like more than from one end of the room to the other, and very big. And then once we froze and we stopped, it just came and zoomed in front of us and went its way. And then we saw it swing over there and it caught to a frog and it was eating the frog. So God is amazing. Nature is amazing. I don't know what sensation that came into our body, and all of us, we just froze at once for the snake to pass before we went. So that is a good example of fight or flight or freeze, So in that situation, we froze and the snake went. But if you are constantly, that can cause trauma for somebody who has severe fear of snakes, and they wouldn't be able to go into the forest anymore. Fortunately for me, I didn't have that kind of situation. So, but for your brain function, right? If a situation like that happens, you'll be afraid to go into the village or into the forest, and then it will cause you to your stresses cannot calm down. But after the thing happened, we were able to calm. We were able to be the message in our brain says shut down. There's no more danger, and we were fine. So one part of the brain gets this shut off signal, or the part of the brain that controls the shut off signal is the hippocampus, which is responsible for taking in new information and consolidating it into long-term memory storage. So we have short-term memory and we have long-term memory. So all this discussion we are having right now, some of it will be new information for us. Some of it is old information for us. Some of it we already have a long time ago and it's already stored in our long-term memory. So as I am talking about this, it will begin to come to you in snippets or in all of it, and you will know that, okay, you know this information, or if you don't know the information, you begin to process and you begin to know, okay, this is how my brain works and how do we deal with it. So unfortunately, when stress becomes chronic, say when you are trying to work from home, parent your kids, and navigate the world during a global health pandemic, well, not just around global health pandemic, but like I said, in modern times, we have high stress. If you're trying to work and you're trying to take care of your children or your family, and you're trying to achieve other things, and let's say you get up and you drive. I used to drive, I moved to a new city, and I used to drive 2 hours to get to work and drive 2 hours to come back from work. And on my commute to work, sometimes I'll fall asleep while I'm driving, right? So you get to the work, and then after work, you have to pick up your children from school. I know if you live in a big city, you have these kind of experiences. Maybe your children are in the daycare, especially if you live in America or some other part. I don't know. Let me restrict my knowledge to America and the way it works there. You have a babysitter that is also timing you and saying that you should be back by 5 o'clock, 6 or 7. Or your child is at the daycare and they're going to shut down the daycare, and you are supposed to get there at 5. Now you are stuck in traffic 2 hours trying to get to your babysitter to pick up your child. So imagine the stress that you're going to go through, right? When you get there, they might call the police on you if you are too late to pick up your child. They might call Child Protective Services, especially if you're chronic. It's happening every day. It's just one example of stress that I can give in a high functioning world. So all this activate our stress levels. If you have more examples of stress, we can talk about it later. So it says that the brain stays in protective mode and doesn't get a message to turn off the stress hormone, right? So if we are constantly stressed, every day you're stressed. So you can't shut it off. You can't shut off the signal that says that it's okay, we are not in danger. So we are constantly stressed. So the hippocampus gets tired, and over time, its cells start to die. this important area of the brain begins to shrink and the brain fog can set in. So it's not only brain fog, right? So if your brain can't shut down and say, we're okay, you are constantly on high alert. You're constantly like trying to survive. That's what it is. You are constantly trying to survive, constantly on survival, jumping from place to place, trying to get something done. You're getting admission into a school, you are struggling, you want to get into the school. Are you going to get in? Everything you're trying to achieve in your life? You're trying to get a farm, you're trying to start a business, and you really want this to go on for you. But maybe your resources are few and you are stressed about it as to whether you can manifest it. So you're constantly on high alert, and your brain hippocampus is tired of trying to shut it down, but it's not shutting down. So it gives up. It's like a machine. You've overworked the machine and the machine is going to break down. So now you realize that your brain cells are shrinking. And so when we study mental illness or we want to treat mental illness, sometimes we look at the causes. The causes can be, brain damage, and it can be environmental factors, can be biological factors. So we have to look at all of that, right? So when I came here, I was going to get my Ghana card, and I got into the Ghana card room, and the person that was doing my Ghana card was taking my information. And he asked me, he said, what's your highest form of education? I'm sure they needed that information for their processing. And I said, I'm a doctor. I have PhD. And he was like, oh, okay. So when he looked into the list, I was trying to explain to him that I'm a psychologist. I treat mental illness. So the man was like, look at me. So I thought he was joking with me. So I was laughing. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. He said, look at me, look at me. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You look fine to me. And he said, no, I have a problem. I have a problem. I need help. So I said, okay, I get that all the time. So I just thought, he's just playing with me. But then, so I asked him, I said, so what's your problem? Do you have a brain injury? He said, no. I said, so what's the problem? He says, overthinking. I can't shut it off. I'm always thinking at night. I mean, I can't sleep. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, then maybe you need help. So these are the kind of people I help, in my clinic. I also have a friend that I was hanging out with that told me the same thing. They told me they can't sleep. And they are always like at night, they can't even get 3 hours of sleep. Every night, they only get 3 hours of sleep, okay? So if you're only getting 3 hours of sleep, I beg you, you need to do something about it. You need to fix it. We can talk about how to fix it later. So this is just when I arrived in Ghana that I experienced this friend that was constantly, on the go. This is a high achiever. They are very busy. They are going. And they're telling me they can't sleep at night. They only get 3 hours of sleep. And they were helping me, process some things. So we were running around town and they started having a nosebleed and they started having some symptoms. And then I advised them the next day, they said they were going to get up and go to 2 funerals. They're going to 2 funerals. I said, you better not move tomorrow. Stay in your bed and rest. And take your blood pressure. True to it, when they called the doctor and the doctor came, the blood pressure was 100 and almost 180 over 150. The doctors admitted them to the hospital. So this is what happens when you can't sleep and you are under stress. That's your brain functioning incorrectly, and you're going to be so stressed and your blood pressure is going to go high, and then you feel like you have things to do. You have no time to rest. I have no time to sit down. I have these job meetings and I have these interviews and I have these things that I have to do. It's important that I do them. You don't pay attention to your health and you keep on going. You're going to get up and go to funerals when you are in this condition. For what? So I told them not to go, and then the blood pressure was so high. And do you know what happens? The next thing is that you get a stroke. That was just what was about to happen, a stroke. Okay, so if you can't sleep and you see that, you are always under stress, check your blood pressure. I myself, I think it was last year or 2 years ago in August, it was intensely hot in Houston. And the Ghanaian community, I was one of the organizers. I was a youth organizer for the Ghana Association. And we do summer activities for the community. So I sat down, I was highly stressed writing my thesis. That's one of the stressest things I've ever done in my life. So I wrote some and then I took a break. I'm sitting in the house, there's air conditioning, I have water. In the house, I'm drinking a lot of water constantly. So I'm hydrated. I thought I was all fine. I drove to the park, I parked my car and I went to sit down and I started to feel hungry. But most importantly, I was looking for water. It gets very hot in Houston. It's hotter than Ghana. So I think on that day, it was over 100 degrees in Houston. And the activities had just started. We didn't have water. We had water, but it was hot. We didn't have ice. So when I tried to drink the water, it didn't help. And I went to get it was some candy. It's ice, right? I thought it was ice, but it's like some ice cream, flaky, or frosty, like when in the fridge, when you scrape the frosty from the fridge. So I thought, oh, if I eat this, it will help me with my, thirst. And that made it worse. It was all sugar. Sugar is also not good. Sugar is not good for your brain health. It's poison. So I made this thing worse and I thought, oh, okay, maybe I need food. So I went to get food and I went to sit down and I couldn't eat the food. But I was so fine like 5 minutes ago. So I saw a friend of mine across from over there and I was like, oh, let me go say hello. I got up and I took a few steps and I realized I had no energy and I couldn't move. So I came back to sit down. Luckily for me, we had a health center. The doctors and the nurses were there. So I went and got my blood pressure checked and they told me my blood pressure was 54/40. I didn't know what was going on. So they were asking me what I've eaten and stuff. I was like, oh, my food is there, whatnot. So I sat down for a minute and then I was really struggling. I felt like I was out of breath. I couldn't breathe. I was really struggling. And somebody luckily came with very cold water and poured it on me. And it revived me a little bit. And I drank some water. So then I was sitting there and I was like, nah, I don't think I can make it for the day's festivities. So let me go home. And I called some of the young people around. He came and helped me to walk me to my car. And I said, okay, let me sit in my car for a little bit. I took a little nap. Somebody came with a big bottle of Gatorade. That was very chilled. I drank the whole bottle. I sat down for a minute and then I managed to drive home. So when I drove home, I cooled myself down. I lay in my bed and I called my friends and told them what happened. They said I should go to the hospital. I said, no, I'm fine. And they were insisting, go to the hospital, go to the hospital. But one of my friends, that was a nurse assistant, said, but who allowed you to drive home with a blood pressure of 54/40? You were practically dead, Sadia. You were dead. So what happened was that, with a heat stroke, brain activity drops. And my functioning was not good. I don't understand why. Actually, the doctor came to the car, to the window to check on me. And I said, Doc, I'm going to go home. And he said, okay. I don't understand why that doctor let me go because I was not stable enough to go home. So why did I even bring that story up? But I'm just saying, these are situations where you need self-care. You need to take care of yourself. When you see that things are not okay, your blood pressure can go all the way up or it can go all the way down. So anyway, I thought I was fine. And my friends would not let me rest. So I went to the emergency. I went to see my doctor, actually. It's a small clinic. And when they checked me out on the EKG, they said I had a mild cardiac arrest. So that is how quickly you are to death. So when you see certain signs, please don't ignore them. Make sure you get yourself checked. Get to the hospital. And if you have some very chronic disturbances, like things are bothering you, you are worrying about a lot of things, it's okay. Find somebody to talk to. Find somebody you can trust, or work your way to the hospital. Talk to your doctor and see, it's okay. It is okay to talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Let's remove the stigma from mental illness. Your brain, right? Your whole body consists of from your head to your toe. So every part of your body is important, but the most important part is your brain, because without a brain, you can't do anything. So why are we thinking that mental illness is some shame? There's nothing shameful about that. I've been depressed before. I've been, depressed. I've been depressed. I have ADHD, which I mentioned. And I talked about those conditions and I've gotten help. And I also have a mental health as a therapist. I myself have a therapist that I talk to, and I have clients that are therapists. I have clients that are medical doctors, surgeons, anesthesiologists. I have lawyers, I have police officers, I have everybody that care about their mental health, and they come and talk to me. So if you feel like something is not going right, talk to your physician and then see if it's a mental issue, and you can talk to your mental health provider. So now let's look for solutions. So those are the things that stress can cause. Let me take a little breath. And let's see how to manage mental health. While I've paused, does anybody have a question or a concern that I can address? So when you have persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and anxiety, mood swings, when you have changes in your appetite or sleep patterns, withdrawal from social interactions, you don't want to see people anymore, but you used to be very social. I know, on a platform, we had somebody that had passed and they were discussing that he didn't want to receive people. He wasn't seeing people, and he was kind of hostile to people that came around him. Yeah, if you have memory problems, you have negative thought patterns or self-talk, you don't feel good about yourself, you feel like you're a shame, you're a problem, you can't solve problems, your problem-solving skills are bad, you have low energy, fatigue, headaches or physical pain, digestive issues, changes in your weight or appearance, strained relationships, avoiding social interactions. I already mentioned that, feeling disconnected from others, difficulty communicating effectively. Talk to a trusted person or friend or family member. Seek professional help. Practice self-care and stress management. Engage in activities that promote mental well-being. So I have other things that we can talk about. I think I have this one. And this one is going to tell us about how to manage. So this one says what brain training is all about. So we're going to talk about brain training. It says commit to moving your body. Commit to moving your body. As city dwellers, we can have a sedentary lifestyle. And a sedentary lifestyle means you sit at your desk all day. I, for instance, I'm sitting at my desk a good 10 hours a day. So if I get up at 10 a.m. to sit at my desk, I probably finish by 9 to 10 p.m. And the entire time I'm sitting down, because I sit down to talk to my patients. and it's 1 hour per patient. So I need time to work the body. Otherwise, the body don't function well. So they says that working out does the body and the brain good. We have really strong evidence that exercise can help you grow more brain cells. Okay, so why do you think, what has your body movement got to do with your brain? They are very connected. When I studied anatomy and physiology, when I studied biology, I realized the importance of the brain, such that it is the brain that makes us function and do everything we do. If you are going to eat, it's the brain that will signal the neurons. The brain, right? The brain in connection with the body has a lot of chemicals. I mean, like cords, the cords, like electrical cords, wires that are connected from our brains to every part of our body, to the eyes, to the nose, the mouth, the neck, the hands. Whatever I'm doing is the brain that is causing me to do all of that. So if some neurons are not working properly, you can go 2 days and you don't know you've not eaten. People that experience such issues can be people that have Alzheimer's diseases, Alzheimer's or dementia. They forget who they are. If like you have a relative that's very old. I remember when I used to visit my grandfather. My grandfather was over 100 years and his brain activity had declined. I'll be sitting there, he'll come and ask me, whose child is this? And that's my own grandfather. He didn't know me anymore. You have people that, a husband can not know who his wife is. A wife doesn't know who her husband is. And they don't know who their children are. They don't know who their relatives are. And it can be very, very, very emotionally stressful for the families, right? So I'm just saying that if the brain declines like that, the connection with your brain and your body does not go properly, so then you won't function. So if you can't sleep, it's your brain. If you can't walk, it's your brain. If you can't talk, all of that is your brain. So it says that when you exercise, it helps your brain cells to function better, and it increases the pathways in your brain. It creates more nerve growth factors, which are like miracle growth for your brain cells. While there's no specific type of workout that experts recommend, studies have looked at the brain building benefits of everything from hopping on a bike to getting into the bird pose. One small study showed that highly intensity interval training in adults 60 and older, for example, resulted in an increase of up to 30% in memory performance. So let's bring it down to Africa. I know Ras Fire. Thank you very much. Ras Fire 7. Ras David, I know last time you asked me about how do I bring it down to Africa, or for us, for our struggle, right? So let me try and bring this to our struggle, or our, effectiveness as a people, as Africans. Everything that I'm talking about, bring it to Africa, because Africans, our genetic makeup is quite different from the genetic makeup of Europeans or white people. And I want us to take this as a health information. When we go to the doctor, make sure that you are aware of how your brain functions, and you can have a discussion with your doctor. We live in an era where information is booming. Everybody has information. You are your own doctor before your doctor sees you. So don't just go there and sit down and let your doctor write prescriptions and you get up and go. Talk to your doctor, okay? So generalize this to Africa. We went through a lot of stress, trauma, slavery, colonialism. We're still going through it. But the whole world attests to the fact that Africans are the happiest people in the world. Africans, we may be, quote unquote, the poorest, and we're not. We're not the poorest, but they've impoverished us because we have bad leaders and they are stealing all our resources and not developing us. And we also went through, psychological trauma, where we even don't know how to evolve and make things happen for us, but still things are happening. But the number one thing is music and dance. Music and dance is one treasure that Africans have that the West don't have. I have seen a lot of Europeans come to Africa. I've seen, America. A lot of Americans have come to Africa. We went to the School of Performing Arts. We used to sit at the shrine, and we've seen white people of all nationalities, or people from all nationalities used to come to the School of Performing Arts and study our music. I even heard that Elton John was at the School of Performing Arts. They come to study music. I did a TED Talk, and my colleague TED Talker was a white boy that had come to study music at Ghana. He went to live in some village. He learned how to play the xylophone. So he dubbed it White Man in the Jungle, so he was playing the xylophone and his experiences, with music. So the reason why Africans are the happiest people in the world is because of our sense of music and performing and dance. When you dance and you play music, what did Bob Marley say? One good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. You will feel the music and you will enjoy the music, and you will forget all your sorrows and dance. That's it. That's the message. I mean, who knew Bob Marley was such a great psychologist, right? That's a very good prescription for moving your body. So in Africa, when we have every occasion, when it's a funeral, we'll make it a party. If it's childbirth, we'll make it a party. If it's a job promotion, we'll make it a party. Whatever it is, we're gonna have a party. We are sad, we're gonna have a party. We are happy, we're gonna have a party. And then there's no music that doesn't come with dance. So when we dance, it releases happy hormones in our brains. And so people marvel at why we are very happy people. So during the time of COVID, Black Santino was doing his program. It was Backyard Vibes. And I encountered that there was a particular day that I wasn't feeling very good emotionally. I was down. My house was a mess. I didn't feel like bathing. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was laying in my bed. And then as soon as Black Santino came on with the vibes, with the what you call it, Backyard Vibes, and he started playing a few reggae songs. I think it was just that one reggae song got me jump up from my bed. And I cleaned my whole house with little effort. I went to bath, I groomed, I did everything very well and had a wonderful day. So, that was my medicine that cured my depression. So clinically, we also prescribe music and dance for our clients when they have depression, anxiety, and other conditions. So if you want to know what kind of movements to do when you have worry, fear, anything that is bothering you, use music, use dance. It's very effective. They also say challenge yourself to learn some new things. So that's why I think for us Rastafarians, whether, to promote our mental health, to promote our brain cells to grow, let's always learn to do some new things. I think that we are revolutionaries. And the revolution has been going on for a long time. And I think maybe we are set in our ways. We are doing it the same way over and over and over. Can we learn to do the revolution in a different way, right? Yeah. And so what? It will take a revolution if you trouble Black man thing. And they keep troubling us. And our struggle is the same way, the same way, the same way. So, that's why we are here reasoning. What other things can we do, to change the game? I have a suggestion for the Rastafari education. What do we call it? That committee that we have? Ras Kofi, can you help me? The Rastafari Education Council, right?
Commission.
The Rastafari Education Commission?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I'm proposing is that if we can adapt a book, one of the any conscious book, we can read about Marcus Garvey, we can read about His Majesty. So we can suggest a book, let's say My Life in Ethiopia, Ethiopia's Progress, if that's the correct title. You know, some of us have read that book a long time ago. Some of us couldn't read the whole book. Some of us, we skimmed through it, whatever it is. We can read about Marcus Garvey. We can read about Kwame Nkrumah's books, Africa Must Unite. So we can adapt one book. Everybody find the book. You can go to the library. Oh, okay. Eustress. So we can adapt a book and we all read it and have discussions so that, you know, it will enlighten us more and we will learn more things. You know, we will learn new things. We also have to each one teach one. I suggest that we learn different vocations and activities. Me, for instance, I'm trying to go to fashion school and learn fashion. You know, everything must not be education. I mean, fashion, learning, whatever you're learning is education. Okay, I'm reading some comments. So give me a second. I'm reading some comments. So we can learn new things. If you think that you are a very good fashion designer, you can learn gardening. If you think you are a very good gardener, learn what? Learn electrician. Learn how to be electrician, plumbing. Whether you are a female, male, it doesn't matter. Learn something new. So learning something new is good for the brain cells. I just had a question here and it says, talk about eustress. So let me see. Eustress is new to me. It's something new to me. So let me see. Eustress is a term coined by psychologist Hans Terli to describe positive stress. So a type of stress that is beneficial, motivating, and energizing. Okay, so exciting challenges. So you know what? Like I said, we all experience stress. So thank you, Rasawuni. Thank you. So this came from Rasawuni, wants me to talk about eustress, and eustress is positive stress. So like I said, God or nature or Jah or you know, whatever how our makeup is, stress is part of us. Without stress, we cannot achieve anything in life. So positive stress is where you have to, you need that stress to motivate you, such as if you have an exam and you don't study, you don't stress about the exam, you would take it easy, you won't do your best and you fail the exam. So that kind of stress that come with, hey, I must study to pass my exam, excuse me, that's positive stress. Other positive stress, it drives individuals to take action and pursue goals. Enhances, improves focus, productivity, and creativity. Feels good, associated with feelings of good, excitement, enthusiasm, and satisfaction. Examples of that is achieving goals. So meeting deadlines, completing projects. So the stress that we need to help us to complete a deadline is good stress. To overcome obstacles, develop new habits. Sports, puzzles, creative pursuits. Okay, so if we're going to play a sport like Black Stars, they have stress, and the stress is to what you might call it. The stress is for them to be able to do well. So they're not gonna sleep. They are going to practice, or they are going to rehearse, or you know, like practice. They're going to always practice so that they can perfect their skill and be able to do well. So that is what positive stress is all about. So that's briefly what it is. So here I'm reading, it says, as an adult and you keep procrastinating, not being consistent, being distracted by social media while on important course, not being health conscious, are all these mental brain problems? Excellent questions. Yes, yeah, man. So yes, procrastination is a very good sign of a mental condition. So it is caused by traumas that we have experienced. So hold on, let me do this so I can do justice to that question. I'll be with you. Yes. So procrastination is a complex issue, and its relationship to mental health is multifaceted. While procrastination itself isn't a definitive sign of poor mental health, it can be associated with various underlying factors such as anxiety or stress. So anxiety can cause us to procrastinate, and I am a very big procrastinator. And usually what I notice is that, let's say I have a paper to write, I'll just sit here and be thinking, I don't think I can do this paper justice. So instead of going to the topic, studying the topic and finding my resources and getting myself ready, I just sit here and start thinking about all the reasons why this paper is not going to be a good paper. And then I sit down and think, then I say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then before you know it is the end of, I have maybe 1 day or 6 hours to finish a paper. And then that's when I push it. So it's fear of failure. Procrastination comes from fear of failure, perfectionism, or being overwhelmed. So you want to do a perfect job, right? So then you tend to procrastinate. It's also a sign of ADHD where you cannot concentrate. When I was saying concentration, lack of concentration and lack of focus, it's a sign of ADHD. So ADHD, difficulty with focus, organization, or time management. So the ADHD will do that to you, and you procrastinate until the last minute, and then you don't give it your best. And so you don't meet your deadlines, and you be in trouble with your boss at home or your own self or with your wife or husband because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So yes, that is the question. So I think I will pause here. And there's a lot that maybe I could have covered, but I will pause here for us to take some interaction, discussions, and stuff like that. So please, the floor is open for us all to have interaction. Come on, man. Rasis, do we have any questions, any suggestions, any contributions?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Rasvira, I can hear you very well.
Yes, give thanks, Sister Saga. Give thanks for the presentation. Give thanks for the insight. Give thanks for bringing this information to I. I know you started talking about how mental health impacts us as Africans, and in terms of the trauma and the years of negative impact that it has had, and also looking at the contemporary times, what kind of connections can you draw between the negative impact that we've suffered from colonialism, slavery, neocolonialism, and also how we are coping with the wider world today.
Okay. Give thanks and praises. I appreciate your question, Raswiro.
Every time.
Yes, So the impact of colonialism and slavery and all of those things and how they are impacting us in the world today to the larger extent for our leaders and for us as individuals is that it has created this sense of complacency that we always talk about. We see the problem, but we fail to take the action. It also has created inferiority complex, if you ask me, amongst us. One case in point, we saw, what's his name? The president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, went to the White House to visit Trump and got humiliated so badly. It's a sign of post-trauma or, inferiority complex that has been created on us due to slavery and colonialism. We saw the Liberian president speaking to Trump, and Trump responding to Trump as if a headmaster and his students. And the student is the Liberian president, and then Trump is the headmaster. The same with the South African president. It's like you are sitting there with your fellow president, even though this president is United States president, he's a powerful man. Yes, we get it. But that's your colleague, and you are here to talk about business concerning your people. Why are you so sitting there timid and not presenting your issues? When Trump talked about the killing of white people and the song, the Kill the Boer song, I would have liked to see the man give a little history, an overview of what these problems are or what we have encountered, apartheid. I would have liked for him to school Trump about apartheid and that the land belonged to us, and you guys, the Europeans came and took the land and created a system where, there's distribution of wealth is poorly structured against us, right? And stuff like that. But he's sitting down like apologetic and begging and asking about playing golf and stuff like that. These are the problems we're encountering on a national level, continental level, where our leaders are so inferior that they sell us out. They're begging the Western powers. We have all these resources. We have all these minerals. We have all this gold. We have everything going on. But you know what? Mental slavery. We are still not emancipated in our mental slavery. So it has created the sense of inferiority, and the white man is superior, and a sense of helplessness and a sense of worthlessness. We are presented to the world as worthless and helpless and hopeless, that we have gold and we don't know what to do with it. So we are begging you. We always have this begging mentality. Come and help us. Come and help us develop our mineral resources. Come and help us. We've found oils, but we don't know what to do with the oil. Come and dig the oil for us and give us 5% and take 90%. Or what is it? The distribution. My statistics is wrong, but you can help me. Right? So that's the predicament. That's the state that we are in. So we have this inferiority complex that we are walking about with, and even on the continent. Recently, I saw on a video, a white man was at the Accra Mall, and he was smoking right under a sign that said no smoking, right here in Ghana. And he was confronted by one of the locals, an activist, that told him that you can't do that. It says no smoking. Actually, the police or the security man was correcting him and telling him to stop it. And he told the security man, do you know who I am? And stuff like that kind of thing. and trying to resist and, appending like, you can't talk to me, you can't tell me anything. On our own land, we have foreigners coming here and dictating to us what to do. So Ras Wiro, I hope I'm going along the lines to answer your question, is that the sense of inferiority and complacency, where we are looking on like we're helpless when we have the answers, we have the world to our disposal. So these are the mental issue with that is the sense of inferiority complex.
Well, give thanks. I like the way you put inferiority complex as a mental health issue. So if I'm to summarize it, then it means our presidents, our pastors, our imams, our all kind of leaders who suffer from these kinds of inferiority complex can be said to have mental issues.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mental and psychological issues. Now, let's look at Agrada, our beloved lady Agrada. I mean, Ras Wiro, if it wasn't for inferiority complex and mental disorder, how can somebody like Agrada defraud ministers of state and very high profile intelligent people? Why? I have a friend, a colleague from University of Ghana, that told me that her mother, another educated person, was defrauded by Obinim. Why? You know, if you're able to go and sit in with all these degrees, you go and sit there and Obinim. I mean, if you ever see me tell you that Obinim has defrauded me, I mean, I deserve a very big slap. But what made it possible for that to happen? We are not using the brain cells. The brain cells that, we mentioned earlier, they shrink. They are not functioning. They are not functioning because the weapons of mass destruction from the slavery and colonialism is that they use religion to shrink our brain cells. As we said, let's do new activities. They've been preaching nonsense to us all these years, creating fear. Fear is a mental health disorder as well, right? Fear can control you. So they use fear, they use all kinds of psychological ways to, capture our minds. One of the things they tell you is don't question anything. Don't question. If you question, God will strike you down. And that's a psychological thing to control, right? So these are the things where our moms and our local folks that don't have the Western education and are exposed to white people ways. That's what is happening. When you take my hometown in the northern region, we have the clay buildings. We have the clay buildings and set up. Very beautiful architecture. I love it so much. I love it so much that I left the United States when I was 9 months, almost 9 months pregnant, to go to my mother's village in Wiaga, around Sandema area, to go and deliver my child. Because when I was 4 years old, my mom took me there and I saw a woman deliver. And in the natural habitat of things, as a Rasta woman, I left the United States and came here and delivered my child. Now, when you go there, they are changing the clay houses and then architecture of the place into zinc. It used to be thatch roof. Now they are having zinc and cement, and they don't have the money to put the kind of structure that needs to be put. So it's so bad. It's so bad that I don't enjoy going there anymore, right? So you see the clay houses and the thatch roof, that should have been our national treasure. And our leaders, the government, the housing authorities should have put more emphasis on it. It's eco-friendly and everything. And to project it to the world as, even patent it as our national treasures and our African assets. No. Now it's inferior and it's not good. So now they want what? Cement blocks that they cannot even afford. These things that I'm talking about, the clay, then the women in my hometown were the builders of the house. Clay is everywhere with cow dung. They mix it together and you don't have to spend a dime to build your house. We are doing blocks. But you know what, Rasmiro, I'm sure you've seen this. Why people are now doing the clay houses and they are calling it their new discovery.
I know.
You know, the Adobe houses, eco-friendly, this and that, and now it's their discovery. It's not something they stole from Africa. You see, it's very disheartening, and all these things are, yes, mental conditions from slavery.
Give thanks.
Thank you for that wonderful question, and we can tailor this back into the general framework of Africa and the state that we are in. So please, more questions, more contributions. I'm open for it. And on the discussion that I presented on the mental health and our brains, please, I would like to have more insight questions. Did I carry my message through? Do you have any questions, please? As we're waiting, I would like to say, as Rastafarians, we know how the brain, with the information we've gone through today, the way that our brain works and how it impacts us. I would like to say that whatever you are thinking, that is what influences your feelings and your behavior. So if you're not thinking straight, your behavior will not be straight. We Rastafarians, we knew to deviate from the path of colonialism and slavery. And our path is African liberation. It is like we are the torch bearers. We carry the torch, we carry the light. We are the light of the world. That's why when they see us, Rastaman, that's why when they were doing the Tuareg marches, they were looking for where is the presence of the Rastaman, because we are the ones that speak. We are the ones that have the message of revolution, and the people admire that, the people appreciate that. So I would like to say that we need to take a good stance, continue to forge forward, and continue to do things that reflect what our purpose is. Yeah. I got a question that says, is marijuana addiction a mental problem? Anything that is addictive is the marijuana itself is not addictive. But the addiction, anything that is an addiction is a mental problem. Even food can be addictive. Anything can be addictive. Food can be addictive. What else can be addictive? As I'm scouting my mind, food, drinking, smoking, sex, emotional dependence can be addictive. So what I mean by emotional dependence, you say, oh, I love somebody. If I can't see the person, I'll kill myself. I will die. I can't do anything. I can't eat. I can't sleep without another human being. Then we go to say, oh, you are the air I breathe. Without you, I can't breathe. I'm sorry, that is not love. That is addiction. You are addicted to another person. And in psychological terms, we call that codependency. There are people that are addicted to all kinds of things. So let me just limit that. So if marijuana, if it's an addictive thing, somebody will get up in the morning, they haven't fed their children, they haven't paid their electricity bill, they haven't paid their rent. They know that this is my last dime to take me to work, but they would rather use the money to go and buy ganja and smoke. I beg, that's an addiction. That's not rational behavior. Why would you do that? right? Oh, then I can't function. I can't do anything. I can't think if I haven't smoked ganja. I can't do it. Oh, I need a ganja so I can have sex. I need ganja so that I can eat. I need ganja so I can play music. I need ganja so I can work. Too much of that dependency on the ganja is becoming a concern. It's an addiction. So yes, that's how addiction operates. If ganja is not bad, ganja is not bad at all. I have argued in classrooms, and the classroom will be divided. And then I discovered there are medical doctors that have written books on ganja for it. And we know in the United States now, a lot of states have legalized ganja. So ganja is not bad, don't get me wrong. But if you are hooked to it the way I described it, then yes, it's an addiction and it's bad. Anything you're addicted to is bad. So you have to do something about it. And the you is in general terms. Anybody that's experiencing that condition, you are addicted, you can't progress in life, you can't do anything. Your whole life is about ganja. Then you have to reevaluate your life. And if you need help, yes, then you have to look for help.
Yes, if there's nobody else, can I
Yeah,
go?
I think I have a question for Sadia. Just waiting that she, of course, I raised my hand, so I'll be listening.
Oh,
Give
okay.
thanks, Sadia, for your explanation of mental health to us. I've learned some new things today that I never learned. I've been to a lot of mental health classes, and then today I've learned something new. I think it's quite interesting that you mentioned Riaga, that you come from Riaga. I did national service in Riaga,
Oh,
across
wow.
Riaga to Kadima. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Kadima, I was stationed in Kadima, I think 92. So yeah, I enjoyed the place a lot. Very nice people. And Riaga, I don't know if you know this, the chief of Riaga, that the chief then, he was he wasn't the right chief, but he was a sub chief, and then he had his house by the roadside, a story building by the roadside. He built that
Yes.
house in the 70s, I guess. So that was a long
Yes.
time ago.
Yes.
So he had sons, and one of his sons was Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed the time there a lot. Thomas came to look for me in Tema when I returned to Tema. Yeah, we
Okay.
had a very good
Okay.
relationship. It was sad that
Okay.
later on, I started seeing the boys in town. So I don't know the state of the place now. I've always wanted to go back and see what's going on there. So I don't, because I heard they discovered gold in the place, and then the people were chased out of the place, and then all the boys were in town, you know. So I don't know what the state of the place is now. If you can update us on that later on. My question is about the brain. What we used to think, I know the brain is where we think. A lot of people talk about the heart. So what's the relationship between the heart and the brain? In
Okay.
the thinking process, and also
Okay. Mm-hmm.
uh, my it's a loaded question. So if you can put it down, if you really write
Mm-hmm.
it down somewhere. But
Okay.
my second question is about cognitive dissonance. How it's affecting us. Would we consider our desire to help outsiders more than we help ourselves? You know, as a cognitive dissonance and a mental health issue. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Thank you very much. Very, very good question, Russ. The relationship between the brain and the heart, um, the automatic nervous system regulates heart rate, blood pressure, and circulation. So it impacts emotions. The brain and the heart, the relationship between them is that the brain stress response, like we talked about earlier, the fight or flight, increases heart rate and blood pressure, right? So when you perceive a threat, your brain will send a message, and your heart is going to respond by pumping
Mhm.
more blood, right? your brain is stressed, and your heart is also stressed. So your heart being stressed is going to pump the blood faster, quicker, right? And your blood pressure is going to go high. So that's why when you are stressed, your blood pressure goes high and you might get a stroke and die. So when you go to the hospital, before they take your blood pressure, they allow you to sit down and cool off for a minute and relax. And then whatever stress you are going through, they calm you down a little bit before they can get an accurate reading of your blood pressure. Because when you're stressed, your blood pressure and your heart rate is going that way. So it's not going to give an accurate blood pressure. So you have to rest. So the simple answer is that your heart is going to beat, it's going to race, it's going to beat faster, it's going to pump more blood faster. And so that's the thing. It's going to cause anxiety, fear, excitement, right? Yeah. So anyway, my number one treatment for mental disorders, anxiety, depression, and whatever else that's going on that causes you to feel like you are not balanced emotionally, your emotional issues, heartbreak, what you call it, everything I've mentioned, that addiction, any emotional problems, broken heart, anything else that's going on with a human being. My number one treatment is that I teach you how to regulate your brain so that you reduce your fear and anxiety or sadness. So, Ras Ayite, when you have whatever you are thinking, right? Psychologists say that whatever you are thinking in your mind, as a man thinketh, so is he. But Mali also said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. So whatever you are thinking is going to affect your feelings. And I guess the heart deals with feelings. So it's going to affect how you're feeling. And how you're feeling is going to affect how you behave. That's a simple terms. So I hope I've answered your question. And if I didn't, and you need more clarification, please let me know.
Yeah. So I got that about the rest of the cognitive dissonance and how we help others and not ourselves. Is it a cognitive dissonance issue? Is it a mental health issue? Why we can't help ourselves, but we rather help outsiders and sacrifice our own?
Okay, so let's look at what cognitive dissonance is. It's a psychological concept that describes the discomfort, feeling uneasy or conflicted when holding two or more contradictory beliefs, values, or attitudes. So, inconsistency, discrepancy between thoughts, beliefs, or actions, discomfort, psychological tension or uneasiness, motivation, desire to reduce dissonance and restore consistency. So, believing in honesty but cheating, right? Believing that I'm a very honest person, I'm a pastor, a man of God, but then underneath you are doing all these things. So okay, so with this brief description, yes, our condition is a cognitive dissonance. When we say that, revolution, we got to help ourselves, it's time to emancipate the Black man. and all those slogans and all the things that we believe. But then when there's a foreigner or a white man, you quickly run to go and help the white man and forsake your brother. Or if even the white man is doing something wrong and your brother is just chiding them and telling them what they're doing is wrong, then we're going to run to the white man's aid and start fighting with your brother. It's a form of cognitive dissonance by the definition we've seen. So that's what it is. Cognitive dissonance simply is, the kind of being blind to the thing that needs to be done and doing the opposite of what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then how do we solve that issue? How do we solve this cognitive dissonance that we find among ourselves, especially as Rastas?
Well, I'll think of remaining focused on our objectives, aims and objectives, remaining focused, remaining conscious, keeping alert about our activities and what we do, and really examining our actions, questioning ourselves when we do things all the time, self-examination, and see that our mental health is always in a place where, yes, it's desirable. That will foster our own development and that of ours, you know.
I agree. So for the sake of the discussion on our mental health and all of that, as a people, as a race, as a Rastafari, let our actions reflect what we profess as Rastafari to be, our life examples. Our behavior should reflect our philosophies and our principles. Otherwise, then it's not a mental balance, you know.
Thank you.
Yes. And yeah, very interesting. Wiaga is a very interesting place. Today I was looking at pictures of the Fiok Festival. Oh, I think Ras dropped. Ras Aite, you're still there. I was looking at the Fiok Festival pictures. Every year I take a group of African Americans to go and witness the Fiok Festival. So, for the purposes of us being Rasta and our culture being important, this is all part of our mental health as well, because normally we will get accused that we sold our brothers and sisters into slavery. And I have always argued, and I think some of the works I am about to do now is to dive deeper into slavery and see, what happened, what went wrong, and what role did we play, especially in our defense. So in Wiaga, in Sandema area, we have a festival called the Fiok Festival, where every year our ancestors have celebrated for 400 years our defeat of slave raiders. So slave raiders used to go to Sandema, Wiaga area and capture people. One time I went to Sandema, Wiaga with my friend. I mean, I love that place. Rasaite, if you see the architecture I'm talking about, they have the rooftops, like you climb onto the rooftop. Yeah, the building in such a way that it's round, and then they cement it up, and you climb a ladder and you go on top of the roof. And you can spend the night there. And at that time there was no electricity. So it was pitch black. And all you can see is the stars. I mean, if you see the black and all the stars. But you see, Wiaga is not far from Navrongo. And Navrongo, it's a walking distance to Burkina Faso. And then Mali. So that's where the Dogons, study the stars and astronomy, whatever. So if it makes sense that you're laying on the rooftop and you're watching the stars. So we will go up to the rooftop, we'll smoke our ganja, we refresh ourselves, entertain ourselves. So I used to take my American friends to go and enjoy that place. But anyway, then I discovered that we have Fiok Festival, and I'll give credit to Rollins. I saw Rollins in my youthful days that had gone to Fiok Festival, and he was wearing the smocks and the regalia. And so our ancestors at that time were fighting against the slave raiders. So my story is distorted, but bear with me. I took one of my friends, my best friend, if anybody knows my best friend, Mariam. Her father works with the Nation of Islam, Farrakhan's niece. So I took her to Wiaga, and my folks would call her the white lady, but this girl is black like me. So I had to explain to them. Luckily, they were speaking in my language. So I'll tell them that, look, she's not a white lady. If she hears you, she'll be very offended. And I told them she's one of our people that were. But I have to tell you, my people are not white man educated. They're not white man educated like me and you who went to the classroom. They are educated in their own way. But do you know that even I didn't know about slavery in school? Slavery and all those things, we learned it outside school. But these people, when I told them that, they froze and they were like, oh my God, I have goosebumps all over me. They knew what I was talking about. They knew about slavery. And they told me that in Wiaga, in my hometown, it's very, very, very far. They told me that my great-great-grandfather who built that house went all the way to the furthest part of Wiaga to build our house to get away from slave raiders. And they said even in all that, the horse came one day and swept away 3 people. So 3 people from Wiaga, my home, were taken into slavery. And this is normal folks who have never stepped in classroom that told me the story. So isn't it amazing? How were they able to know that? Right? So our history is passed on from generation to generation. But anyway, so our ancestors got a message from the gods warning them that the slave raiders were coming. So they should get ready for war. And that's how they did that. And they defeated the slave raiders. They fought them and defeated them, killed one of them ran away. They were Babatu and Samori. So historians amongst us know these names. Every year for 400 years, they wear the same war regalia that our forefathers wore to battle them. And they celebrate, they reenact the war. So that's what the Field Festival is about. So
The war dance. The war dance.
the whole, yeah, is the war dance. And then they parade throughout all the regions of Sandema, Wiaga, all the I think is it a confederacy, or what is the right term?
Four, Wiaga, Sandema, Kadema, and the 4th one. Making the Busa state. Wednesday.
Yeah. So it's so many different states.
Busa states, right?
Yes.
The Busas, yeah.
Yes. So it's different states that come together. They are brothers. It's like 12 of them. It's 12 cities. And they all make the Busa Empire. And King Azantilo is the common king. He's the king. He's like the Asantehene of the place.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So every year I go. The state of affairs, like I'm saying, they are now building zinc houses, and to me, it's deplorable, right? And the gold, I've heard about the discovery of gold, but again, our leaders, what are they doing? That's another story. I don't know the details of what's going on, but we'll continue to be poor, even if they are discovering gold. The Wiaga Hospital was built in colonial times and it's still sitting there. I hear when it's raining, they have to put buckets to catch the rain. That's the state of Africa. We need to do something.
True, it's true. That's true. Because when I was there, the Roman Catholic presence was there, and Azantilo was a blind man then. The Azantilo at the time was a blind man, old one. I don't know if he's still there. And then he will roam the street at night. Yeah, and then he goes out to the street at night, and it was very intimidating. Then nobody would roam the street at night, because you would meet him and you wouldn't want to meet him at deep night. That's when he comes out. Yeah, and he was a blind man, and he knows all the streets. He knows all the streets, and he goes by himself. And the war dance is the most beautiful dance I've ever seen. the most wonderful dance I've ever seen, the way the troops go. And then was a very interesting time in my life because I experienced mental health issues at that point because of my anxiety and my love of the place and the fear of having to leave and go to the city and return to the city and everything, and my anxiety to get work done, to complete building my house there and things like that. And then, so I went into the architecture of the place, very much into the architecture of the place, and worked with the ladies because the ladies were integral part of architecture. Yeah, they, in fact, laid the finishing parts of it. They finished up they would do the finishing part. It was left to them so that they smoothed the walls, designed it, and preserved it so that rains would not wash the clay away. And so the buildings remain strong. And they kept maintaining the buildings throughout the seasons, especially after the rain season. And when there's a heavy rain, then they'll replaster the buildings and make sure they're all in place again. Everything is in place and the beauty is still there. So yes, as for the architecture, we could never let it go. And it's a shame that they are letting it go. And we should, as a people, encourage that, because if we let that go, that's a bad indication of our mental ability and our mental strength, you know. So I think we can't give away our good architecture and our good practices for inferior and more expensive practices, because I think the architecture also goes in sync with the environment. If you talk about heat and ventilation and conservation, and we can't just let it go. So that mental health is a very, very serious issue that we must take serious and be sure that every time, because if you lose your head, you can lose your feet, you can lose an eye, you can lose. But if you lose your head, then everything is gone. You're gone. You're finished. So then that is the most important part of the body that I think we must always make sure is in functioning condition, you know? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I know time is fast spent. I don't know if anybody has something else to say.
Yes.
Kofi, I see. Okay.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Yes, come on.
Give thanks to the item for the reasonings. I think I just want to make a few suggestions in terms of some resources. So there is a documentary that I watched a long time ago. I don't remember the title of the documentary, but it has to do with the Techimai Holy Family Hospital and how they were referring mental health cases to the traditional practitioners. That is the Akonfo of the area. It's a very informative documentary. I think that we should all check it out. And I think particularly because also we mentioned the fact here that in our African practice, music and dance are part of the healing process. And that is something that is missing when it comes to treating mental health within the Eurocentric framework. And I think that's what the Holy Family Hospital also realized, that the traditional practitioners were more successful in treating mental health cases than they were in the hospital. So they were referring the patients to the Akonfo, the priests and priestesses, traditional priests and priestesses in the area to treat. The second one has to do with the Fiok Festival. I think that the Fiok Festival, I think before 1970, was celebrated, by each of the Busa states independently, and it was the King Azantilo I, whose son is now the king of the Busa state, the King Azantilo I, who made it so that it became an institutionalized festival that is celebrated kingdom-wide in the Busa state. And I want to also encourage the writings of Professor Intewusu, who has done some great research into the Fiak Festival, and how that is a celebration of the defeat of slavery and the participation and also the defense of our local authorities in resisting slavery. Because I think that the story is told that basically a very silly story, in my opinion, that we were just sitting there and we decided one day that we're going to sell our brothers and sisters into slavery, and we didn't do anything. We just basically gave our people away. And it also suggests that there are a group of people living somewhere, and we who are the descendants of those on the continent right now decided to just go and take those people and sell them into slavery, right? It doesn't make any sense. There is no narrative that is really being advanced in terms of the resistance that was put forth. And I think the Fiak Festival is a great example of the defeat of Samori and Babatu, because even up to this day, the artifacts are there. The chains and that Babatu and Samori were using are all there as part of the Fiak Festival celebration for all to see. So, when we talk about resistance, we recently, not so long ago, I would say less than maybe 6 years ago, the head of King Bedu of the Ahanta area was returned from Holland back to Ghana. And the Dutch people took his head and they cut it off and brought it to Holland. But they don't tell you why they cut his head off, right? Because he was attacking them. He was attacking the castle to resist the slave activities that was going on. So these are stories that need to come out. These are narratives that need to be advanced to also make the point of showing the resistance, which is all over, right? That our foremothers and forefathers put forward in resisting slavery. So those are two resources: the Techiman documentary and also the writings of Professor Intewusu. So give thanks.
Thank you, Professor Wiro. Please, how can we get access to these articles? Would you be able to send a link somewhere for us? Not here, but
yes, I can do that.
Thank you. So the issue, another mental slavery aspect of the saying that we sold our own people and we didn't do anything about it. I think that was the history perspective of the white man to blame the victim. So
Absolutely.
it puts us in the space where when our brothers and sisters that were sold into slavery come, we become apologetic and we shrink because now we're guilty. So we are the guilty one. It's not a white man. You see, these are all part of playing with the mind. It's the mind game. It's a psychological, that's another psychological warfare. So we need to make corrections. And yes, Prof, you're right. We need to make corrections. We need to, but this is now like something, my mission, because like you were saying, I did travel to Yendi where the Salaga slave trade and other things. I went to one of the slave raiders' house. I think it was Babatu or Samoris, one of them, where he lived, where he died. His house is there. His descendants are there. I met them. The chains were there. Everything. So we need to tell our story. That's part of the emancipating ourselves from mental slavery, so that when our brothers and sisters come from the West, we don't take the blame for slavery.
We don't have to take any blame anytime, because even those of our people who collaborated with the white man were working for the white man. So in the end, it is the perpetration of the European.
I have a quick question.
Ras Kwesi, before you come, let me make this quick one to go with what Rasmiro said, and then Ras Kwesi. So we have our chiefs, right, doing rituals and crying about the part that we played, and I think it tells the story of how we were the perpetrators. We were catching our people and saying, "Oh, we begged for the part we played." To me, all of that is very unfortunate, but that's what I have to say about that. Ras Kwesi, please.
Quick question to you and then a comment. So when you went to go see Baba's house or Samori, whichever one it was, did you have to pay to see it?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, I thought it's not like a tourist thing which they're commercializing or anything like that.
It's a tourist thing, but it's not commercialized. You don't pay.
Okay. I ask because I've been having this discussion with Seven Fireside for a while about the need for certain groups of people, certain individuals, and so on, to own up on behalf of those that Professor Wiro describes as were working for the white man. Because we can't skip that. There were some people who actually were working for the white man. And those people need to render that apology. Because again, we can't bury our heads in the sand and say, oh, nothing happened here. Something happened, right? But the part I don't get is, just like Professor Willis said again, we can't be responsible for, it's not like there were two groups of people and one was selling the other. So let's find certain people to represent those who actually were working for these people and let them apologize so that the children who were taken away will also feel appeased. Because we cannot hide from the fact that there were some among us who were used as accessories. I was watching a documentary the other day about the camps up north, some of the slave camps up north and stuff like that. And the tour guide made a point. He says, no white man ever set foot here, right? No white man ever went all the way up there to buy slaves. Somebody was doing it. That person was black. Their descendants are here with us today. And we are all together saying that, no, nothing happened. That can't work. At the same time, we can't all bundle together and say, no, me where my grandfather was also running away and just happened not to have been captured. He's going to take the blame for the things that Babatu and Samori and his people did. And you mentioned that you met their descendants. How about their descendants step forward and render that apology so we can all have some peace? This is all I have to, this is all I'm saying for now. Because that is an ongoing debate. You sold us into slavery. No, we did not. Somebody did. Somebody collaborated. Let those people step up and render the apology. Enough said. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that comes with knowing the history and telling the right history, and then we will find out who are the perpetrators, and then we can, I think, call them to accountability. But if you all can see, I wish I had this on my computer, but I don't. But I just, if you can see this,
Yeah, great picture.
that is that's the warrior in his war regalia. So for my part, I always defend my ancestors because that's where I come from, and I know we were fighting. Yep. So it's a great discussion. And now bringing it back to individuals, if whenever we know that we have some mental disturbances, whatever it may be, let's address those issues. I'm available. You know my WhatsApp handle. You know my Facebook handle. You can contact me if you have any issues about mental health questions. You know, I'm a doctor that treats mental illness. So within the house, it shouldn't be something we cannot address individually or, you know, confidentially. So you can approach me and I can work pro bono. I'll be glad to do it. So my doors are open.
Give thanks and prayers.
Yes, sir.
Yes. The little I wanted to say has to do with the fact that when the slave ship took away, among those who were taken away, there were some who were also working for the slave master. And to date, maybe some of them may even find themselves in position of authority or wealth because they worked for the slave master. At one point in time, they have to keep other slaves in check and all that. And so, are we saying such people should also be coming out rendering apology for their role in enslaving their own away from the continent, or perhaps it is those on the continent who were working for the slave master that have to render apologies? That is just a question to what Ras Beloved was suggesting, that some locals played a role in the slavery and hence should be made to apologize. Even today in the West, I believe we have some Black people who are serving the interest of the system, who are still enslaving other Black people for the benefit of the white people. So, in this apology conversation, do they also have a role in there? But I must say, we've done more than 2 hours of reasoning, the designated time for reasoning. So, we'll take the last few comments, and I trust the presenter, Dr. Sadia, can give us a closing remarks in the next 5 minutes. I give thanks.
Give thanks, Ross Kofi. Kofi, say something.
Yes, my Lord.
Yes, and give thanks, Empress Sadia. Good reasonings, and Porfirio. Give thanks for the insights. Ajete Aisha, give thanks. I think we got to keep this bond going. Reasoning together more and more. Yeah, quick little thing. I appreciate the point Empress Sadia brought up as far as being on the same page. Reading some text, reading some book or something where we will fit to vibe on together, because these are the things that actually unite us when we're thinking about the same things. Even if we don't have to agree, people go fit disagree, and people go fit, not necessarily basically want to work with the ideas that we're picking up. But once we're talking about these ideas, we're uniting. So maybe we go fit decide, say, are we going to work with His Majesty's autobiography to start with? Like, let's just agree, so that when we put it out there, we know it's something we're doing, So maybe we could say we're reading the volume 1 of His Majesty's autobiography to start with. We all try to make sure we get in there, and we find a way to link up and discuss what we're picking up, energize each other, share reflections, share insights. And then we also go, if we think about when Nkrumah Nkrumah did a lot of writing. So I appreciate the way you talked about Africa Must Unite. Can we agree to start working on these things seriously? Because we can always sit around and talk about we're supposed to be doing this, we're supposed to be knowing this, but we've never really done anything, in a structured way where it could fit guaranteed, say we all reflect on some of these things. So that'd be a little bit I want to talk about, and I want to thank Empress Sadia for putting that on the table.
Thanks. Ras Fireside. So Ras Kofi, I think I would suggest that maybe we pick up Africa Must Unite. And we will find, everybody can get a copy maybe from the library, or, try and get a copy from wherever one can get a copy from. And then once we all decide that we have a copy, then we can start having discussions. Maybe, I don't know where we would have the discussions, but that can be determined later, where maybe we can take chapter 1 and we can look at it. So I think if anything will come out of today's discussion, if we give birth to that, that would be great. So I am suggesting Africa Must Unite, Kwame Nkrumah, but open to more suggestions.
Can I chip in one quick resource?
Yes, sir.
There is a website, archive.org, ARCHIVE. I don't remember if it's S or not, but I think it's archives.org, which has a PDF files of many, many books. So instead of worrying to buy the book, you can just log in there and access any book that you want.
Give thanks. Very great. Yeah. Academic and prophet. Okay, so archives.org and Ras Kofi, I think you are responsible for this moderation. So if you can note that down and we can share it later, and everybody can try your best and get a hold of Africa Must Unite if we can all agree. So maybe we can agree later or now, but that's what we will be doing.
Let's agree now. Let's agree and act on it now.
Africa Must Unite. We can vote. I mean, you can show by hand if you agree, or before we vote, if you have another book to suggest, then we vote. So anybody have another suggestion of a book that we think is
Yes,
more pressing?
Africa Must Unite is a good book that we can delve into, because right now we can get it online. I mean, you know, the online version, so that that is easy for us to pass around, so that it just, because I know it will be challenging for us to go and to find it, in Ghana or even here in London, in America. It's possible here, more easier here, but in Ghana, I don't think it's it. I learned they have a bookshop, Freedom Bookshop in Accra. I have yet to find that shop, and I wonder what books they stock there. But yes, Africa Must Unite.
Okay. So now we can vote. Africa Must Unite, and we can show by hands, please. I think you have the feature there to just raise your hand if you agree that we should use that. Please, for the sake of time, can we just respond quickly and move forward? Okay, Ras Kwesi, Ras Ajete, myself. Okay, I don't know if everybody's active. Ras Fireside, Ras Ken,
Yes, for me.
Ras Riro. Oh, it's Ras Riro. It's Ras Riro. Ras Kofi. So that's so many of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but I'm with it.
Ras Presidential. Okay, yes. So
I'm also for Africa
yes.
Unite.
Okay, Ras Ringo.
Yes, I give time.
Yes, I. Okay, we have a few more hands. If we don't see hands up until this point, I think we have enough hands that have, or people who have commented and not. So I think Africa Unite is going forward. So that's the book, and then we will proceed to discuss how to go by that. So, yep, we're good to go with that. And any more comments? I know that the time is fast spent. I appreciate the time and dedication that everybody has put in for this reasoning. And we always have to remember our mental health, especially in association to our general well-being as Africans, And when it comes to boldness, when it comes to confidence, as Africans, it's also very essential because of the colonialism. Maybe sometimes we are not. We've been acculturated to be timid people. Also, that's something I have to mention. We want to do the yes sir thing when we see white people. That's why our leaders are parading around the world disgracing us. But as Rastas, we are lions. And then I personally, I see the lioness of our Rasta being. I feel like it's tamed a little bit. That's how I feel. So we need to kindle the fire. Let the fire burn.
Give thanks, Empress. We give thanks for the reasoning. Please, we would like to take your closing remarks.
For my closing remarks, I give thanks and praises to one and all in the room that made it possible. Thank the Rastafari Council. I struggle with what it is. The Rastafari Council and Ras Kofi for giving me this opportunity to interact and to present today. I thank you for your audience, and I pray that, some information, we have retained some information. I pray that the presentation was well received and we have a concept what our mind and the function of our brain and our mental well-being is all about. And moving forward, we can ask questions and also take care of ourselves so that we function in an optimal level. And with that, I'm saying that we are functioning well, we are living well, we are productive, and we are doing good for ourselves in our communities. If we have anything lacking as to our functionality, then we should be able to seek help, because if your mental health is out of order, then there is disequilibrium. So it's okay to know that and to seek help from your doctor. If you know that you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, or you're thinking too much, or you're sad all the time, it's okay to go and discuss that with your medical doctor, and they will show you what direction to go. And then on the wider scale, as Rastafarians, Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if you think you're not good enough, then that's how you are. And if you see yourself to be a great person, His Imperial Majesty is who we follow and he's great, then we cannot go to the white man and be inferior. So with these few words, I say Rastafari and power and more fire.
Rastafari.
Selassie.
So yes, please, we'd like to take one word from Daddy B. Then Papa.
Yes, greetings and give thanks.
Rastafari.
Give thanks for the reasoning. And as has been said, I look forward to the work study or the book study. And I look forward to the recording of this reasoning being published. Give thanks to all the noble ones who made time to be here. And give thanks for the presenter, Dr. Sadia. Give thanks.
Give thanks.
Give thanks. Let it be. So please, our next presentation will be next 2 weeks on the 27th of July with Ras Ajete Ashia. And the topic will be religious beliefs versus the progress of Africa. We do hope to see you all in the next reason. Give thanks. Rastafari.
Selassie. Rastafari.
Let's have a blessed evening.
Good time. Good time.